salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Dear viewers, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Ahlulbayt Live. Tonight, we're discussing about the development between the parent and the child with our wonderful Canadian guest, Sister Marzia Hassan. Welcome back to Ahlulbayt TV. And of course, just a kind note to our viewers that you can partake in the show. Give us a call 0203 411 7842. You can text us 07506842842. Tweet us at Ahlulbayt TV. Okay, let's get straight on to the main points of discussion. We briefly, before the Salah break, we had a brief background about your professional work, the work that you do, and the different role it sort of entails. Now let's move straight to the topic itself, developing the parent-child relationship. Now, when one reads this particular topic, the title, developing the parent-child relationship, one can automatically assume by default that can you develop this bond to that of a friend, and as a result, therefore, my question to you is, how important, or even before that, should a parent, be it a father or the mother, be friends with their child?
It all depends on what you mean by a friend. So how would you define a friend?
Right.
If by friend you mean somebody who is on equal footing, who has an emotional bond with you, who, then as you can imagine, having your child as a friend could potentially cause some problems. If by friend you mean that you have an extremely close and emotional relationship with your child based on mutual respect, open communication, being able to discuss issues, then definitely you should be friends with your child. So it really depends on what you mean by being a friend. In today's age, I think sometimes parents cross the line by being by wanting to be too friendly with their child. And by that, what I mean is not that you don't have a great relationship with the child, but if that relationship is actually stopping you from doing your primary job as a parent, which is to train a child and equip them for skills, for life skills, and for being able to be successful in this world and the hereafter, then it's a problem. If your relationship is that of a friend, it is going to be challenging to discipline when you need to set limits.
Okay, so to what extent should a father or the mother be friends with their children?
So I prefer to think of it not in terms of a friend, but in actually to have a really great relationship with your child. And that is certainly something that parents can work at, and they can be really successful at it.
Yep.
And it takes first of all the intention, and recognition. Because at the end of the day, if we recognize that as parents, our greatest influence on our children is our relationship.
Let me just read the definition of, of friendship, just for the sake of having a good conversation, and to those watching at home, so they have a clear picture of what we're sort of discussing. So friendship, according to the internet and the dictionary, it says friendship is a relationship of mutual affection between two or more people. So it talks about the emotional attachment. So a person attached to another by feelings of affection or personal regard. A person who gives assistance, a patron, a supporter. A person who is on good terms with another. A person who is not hostile. So there's nothing that's written here in the sense that the friend is a family or the friend is a father or the mother. It is merely two individuals having a feeling of affection towards one another.
So I have no problems with that kind of definition. The way I like to think of the parent-child relationship is that there are two components to a relationship with a child. One is the emotional relationship, and the other is the functional relationship. So in terms of a parent's job or responsibility is both to develop the emotional bond as well as to play the functional role. So for example, when children are young, the functional role may be as simple as changing diapers, meeting their physical needs. As the children grow, obviously the functional role changes and it becomes less important, especially when the children are adults. So they may not need you in the physical sense in the same way, but the emotional bond of a relation of the parent-child is something that obviously it lasts a lifetime.
Now, often when it comes to friends, there can be a scenario where a friend might overstep the, what can I say, the rights, the responsibilities, or can overstep the feelings of another friend or of the individual which they are friends with. So, and often when that does happen, one can stop talking to another and therefore the friendship ends, right? Or they can get into a fight, they can physically get into problems with each other. And if a parent begins to befriend their child, to what extent or what boundaries should parents set themselves?
I'm not sure I completely understand the question, because again, if it is a lifelong friendship,
right,
and if it is a good, true friendship, then it should certainly be able to withstand conflict and withstand short-term misunderstandings. And similarly, in terms of a parent-child relationship, obviously it is a bond. It's a bond of blood, which you cannot end in that way. But that doesn't mean that you don't need to work at it.
Right.
So even though you are bonded for life, in that sense, you can still, it can be a bond which actually nurtures or supports the child in this case, or it can be a source of stress or grief if the relationship is not healthy.
Should the parent consciously treat their child as a friend? I mean, if you're looking at it this way, in terms of, let's say, communication-wise, that the child is open to sharing feelings with their parent, should the child know that I am being treated as a friend, or should the parent make that decision indirectly?
So again, I think maybe we are talking about the same thing in different ways.
Right.
So generally, I tend to think of it again if we go back to what I call Islamic parenting contract. Right. So Islam lays out very clearly that for the first 7 years, we are supposed to follow the lead of the child. The child is the Sayyid. And actually, what modern research shows that this is the best foundation you can give the child by following the lead of the child in developing a relationship of trust, in making the child secure in their role as a human being, and in them developing higher level thinking. So in terms of what is now called attachment research, it really supports the idea that when you respond to the needs of the child when they're young, it actually sets them up really well psychologically for the rest of their lives. Now in the second 7-year period, you're supposed to treat the child as what has been variously called the abd, or basically that's the time of training and discipline. So does that mean that you don't have a good relationship with them? Of course you do. But at the same time, that is the time to train them, to set limits, to instill life skills in them. And then, from 14 onwards to 21, basically, is the time where the child is your wazir in the sense that they are your ambassador, again, looking at it in terms of modern, in the way we modern parents think, that's the time when the child gets to test what they have been, to give the child a little bit more independence, right? Sure. But in terms of the relationship with the parent, that goes on throughout. It may change over time, when the parent is playing different roles, but certainly it is one of mutual respect and of mutual care throughout.
Sure. Okay, we'll now do a very short break, but once we're back, we'll discuss about the discipline techniques that we can sort of look forward to. So see you in roughly 5 minutes' time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.